Hello, everybody. Good evening. Buenas noches. Buenas tardes. Buenos dias to all of you. How is everybody doing? Hey, Wendy. Hey, Cheryl. Here I am on a Tuesday on time. Even though I have a flight today, I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that one. Um, yes, it is our regularly scheduled Tuesday Live. And today I thought it would be apropos to talk about travel, particularly given that most of you know me as Picky Girl Travels the World. Um, I've done this year, I did a little bit of travel, but we haven't really talked about travel on the channel in a minute. So I thought today was a good day to do that. We're going to talk about the travel rules, all the things they say you should do when you travel and whether or not that matters. Is it important? Do you need to do those things? If you are new here, welcome. My name is Adelia Aborasha. I don't even know how to say my own name. My name is Adelia Aborashade. But as I said, most people know me as Picky Girl Travels the World. I am a financial educator and coach who has been living abroad since 2016 and has traveled to about 60 or 61 countries. I'm not sure because tonight I am heading back to the UK. I have been to England before, I've been to London twice, but I'm also going to Scotland. And so I'm on the fence. I'm typically not somebody who is big on counting countries. Like, that's not important. But I did wonder, should I count Scotland as a separate country? Because the United Kingdom defines itself as a country of countries. So technically, the United Kingdom is a country made up of four countries: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. So I don't know. I don't know. Should I count Scotland? I don't know, but what else? So I travel, I live abroad, and I help Black women with their money so that they can create the life that they have always wanted. And so, if any of those topics are of interest to you, um, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I am going to take those off because I don't like the reflection in them. Okay. So I am curious for those of you who are here live, but also if you are watching on the replay, I'm curious, like, what are those travel rules that you always hear people saying, like, oh, you have to do this or don't ever do that? I will go first, but I want y'all to drop it in the chat if you're here live. If you are watching on the replay, just make a comment. One I see a lot in online spaces is that you're not supposed to eat at US chains when you are traveling abroad. That's one I hear a whole lot. What about y'all? Are there any like travel rules or things you're supposed to avoid doing that you've heard people say? Like I said, folks want to shame people who, let's say, go to McDonald's when they're abroad or go order a Domino's. I traveled with small children, and you best believe I was in Egypt ordering them Domino's, uh, KFC, and I was also feeding them Twinkies. Egyptian Twinkies, low key, were pretty good. Okay. I think some of the other things that I see, like people kind of act like is an established travel rule, we don't eat at chains when we travel. You gotta get new clothes for your trip, for your vacation trip. So you can curate a look so you can look good for the gram. That's another one I see a lot. And, like, do you another rule I think I see sometime, and I'm saying rule in quotation marks. Y'all get that right? Because I if there's one thing about me, there is not a rule I've met that I have not wanted to break. So I'm using the term rule very, very loosely here. Um, Another thing I will see people talk about is that, like, there are certain, like, must-see things, like, if you're going to India, you've gotta go see the Taj Mahal. If you're going to Egypt, this is the thing that you have to do. I don't really put a whole lot of stock into folks making up rules for my life and telling me what I have to do, but I was curious if y'all had heard any of those kinds of things. Jules asks, "Aren't fast food restaurants different abroad?" In a lot of ways, yes. Like, here in Mexico, Popeyes just came back. They haven't been here, is it 11 years or since 1988, 1998? I don't know, but Popeyes apparently at one point was in Mexico. They left and now they are back. And I will tell you one thing I notice about Popeyes. They don't have ketchup. Now, when you order a pizza in Mexico, they will give you ketchup. Doesn't matter if you're ordering from a Mexican pizza place or it's uh Little Caesars, Papa John's, Domino's, Pizza Hut, they all give you, ketchup. But the Popeyes here, they don't have ketchup. They will sell you a dipping sauce, but they don't have ketchup. So in some ways, they are different. I've eaten at McDonald's, like in China, had fried chicken, bone-in fried chicken. I never saw that in the US. So I think to a certain degree, they are, different. Anita said, "Too funny. I wear the same clothes a few days in a row." Yeah, them people don't know me. They don't know my life. Uh, and nobody is looking at your clothes like that. So I always think it's a little foolish, those folks talking about like, "Oh, I had to go out and get my whole brand new wardrobe." Um, if you I don't really post that much anymore, which I probably should. But if you look at like when I went to Europe the last time, like right before COVID, it was 10 cities, 29 days, something like that. And I traveled in a personal item sized bag. There was not going to be that big of a variety. And I posted those pictures loud and proud. So what? I got on the same thing you saw me in 2 countries ago. I don't care. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. That we're supposed to work hard to try and not look like a tourist. Just like I can see somebody, and I'm sure y'all can too. You can see somebody, even if they are a black person, and you can look at them and you can tell they not from here. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a tourist. So if you get pegged as a tourist, that's not a bad thing. Um, but we definitely get a lot of content saying like, "Oh, this is how you should dress so people don't think you're a tourist." They absolutely are still going to know you're a tourist. You're not going to I I don't know. That's a really interesting thing, Wendy, because I do wonder about the need, the desire to blend in, to be perceived as a local, because that really backfires if you don't have the language skills. Um, so yeah, I've definitely heard that one as well. No tipping, don't ask for ice. Uh, in the vast majority of the world, tipping is not really a thing. And I think Americans, primarily white Americans, are like all shocked and amazed that tipping isn't a thing because they don't think about the history of why tipping is a thing in the United States, that the whole concept of tipping was created so they wouldn't have to pay Black people fair wages. So in other countries who are also, they've got racism in other countries, but I don't know anybody who has perfected racism the way the United States has. So yeah, it is true. Um, I've heard people say like, "Oh, if you tip, it is considered rude." I have never had an instance where I tipped and the person was like, "No, take back your money." But most of the places I have gone, I've traveled over the years, nobody's expecting you to tip. Um, don't ask for ice. If you want ice, ask for ice. But I will say, living outside the US for this long, I just have adapted to drinking uh, beverages without ice. But I don't drink soda. And I probably wouldn't want to drink a soda without ice. That doesn't sound fun. But yeah, Americans are more into ice than a lot of other people, US Americans, that is. Wanda says, pack what you already have in your class closet. Fashion is not the most important thing when traveling. Did y'all watch Tracy Ellis Ross's show Solo Traveling? Because when I read your comment, Wanda, I just thought, I bet you Tracy Ellis Ross would disagree with you. The way in which she travels, fashion is right up there at the top of the list. And there is nothing wrong with that. And that's really the whole idea behind today's conversation is there are no rules that you should be traveling the way that you want, in the style that you want, going to the places you want, doing the things that you want, that you don't have to live up to these so-called rules, or the pressure that social media puts on us to make our travels aesthetically pleasing and, super curated and all that. That kind of stuff is stupid. But yeah, I have no problem at all wearing the same old clothes because the majority of them I have made. So I'm absolutely going to wear them as much as I possibly can. Okay. Um, so in the same vein of talking about like traveling your way, I am an advocate for solo travel. But I know there are some of y'all who absolutely. You don't want to solo travel. I have a good friend that we travel together every year. And when I say we travel together, I pick the destination, I plan all the stuff, and she just says, "How much money do I need to send you?" And so she gets the travel princess treatment, and I don't mind. Uh, and so for somebody like her, the thought of traveling solo and having to figure out all the things may not be that attractive. So if you do want to travel solo, if you enjoy it, go for it. But if that is not appealing to you, don't feel pressured to do it. Like travel your way, do what the hell you want to do. There is I'm making this point that there is no form of travel more valid than another. So whether you went there solo, whether you went as part of a group, like a group of friends, or a group where you didn't know anybody. It's a group trip. I would say that that's something else that I see a lot, like buying a vacation package, where the hotel, the transportation, all of that kind of stuff is put together, is somehow deemed less than a trip that you've spent hours, plotting out everything, planning everything, researching everything. I don't believe that. I don't think that any form of travel is more or less valid than the other. Like it's just what's for you and what's not for you. I took one cruise with my family. Uh, Good Lord, I think it was like 2009. And I found out very, very shortly that cruising is not for me. But I'm not gonna spit on folks who choose to go on cruises, who enjoy that. That's just not the form of travel that I enjoy, but it's not my place to say, "Oh, no, that doesn't count. Oh, you went there on a cruise, that doesn't count." Like, that's BS. That's BS. Um Wanda says she would like to travel with someone other than herself. There's a couple of ways to do that. The obvious is to travel with family, however you define that. Um, but, fortunately, unfortunately, families don't necessarily all come together with the same travel style. Uh, you can travel with friends. Uh, Again, you can't travel with everybody, but and it might take a couple of times, a couple of trips to figure out, "Oh, okay, me and this person, we can travel together. Our schedules, our sleep patterns, our activity levels complement each other." Or you can figure out, like, I don't ever want to travel with this person ever again in my life. It may take a little tweaking to figure out, okay, this is my travel crew. This is my travel squad. These are the people that if I want to go somewhere, I can call them. Um, for that same friend who gets the travel princess treatment because I am typically the person who plans the stuff. Um, she had a big birthday and decided kind of at the last minute that she wanted to travel somewhere and knew without a doubt Adelia will go. And she was right. She sent me an email and was like, "Hey, I want to take this week-long trip to Costa Rica." And was it? This is when I was teaching junior high. I taught junior high for a very, very short time because it wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for the kids. It wasn't good for anybody. Um, and we had the big state mandated test coming up. And I went to the principal and I did not say, "Oh, please, can I take off?" I said, "I will not be coming into work." I told those people because I'm always down to travel. And so hopefully you can figure out who are those people that are going to always be down to travel with you. Another option is to travel solo in a group. Um, I had actually the first time I ever traveled solo, it was accidentally, was in a group. I, along with a friend, this is the first time I'd gone to China. It was a package deal. It was an incredibly cheap package deal. So I was like, bet I got to do this. Talk them into talk them into going as well. And it ended up that they had a conflict with work. So I went by myself and was part of this group trip. Uh, and that was really the first time that I had traveled anywhere by myself. And if it wasn't for single supplements, I probably would have done a whole lot more of that sort of thing. Um, or there are group trips that don't have a single supplement. You just may be paired with another person in the room. I've done that as well. Last May, when I went to South Africa on one of Kina Williams's trips, I went by myself and they paired me up with somebody else. Um, like Reclaim the retreat that I run with Ivana Robinson, all of our spaces are double occupancy. And so if you have a friend, you can book bunk with them. If you don't have anybody, it doesn't matter because pretty much everybody who comes is traveling solo, but it's a group experience. So if you don't want to travel by yourself, that's absolutely a viable option. That is how, when I went to Ghana, um, I traveled solo as part of a large group, ended up meeting some ladies that like we're still Facebook friends and follow each other all these years later. So definitely something to do there. I just saw ba, 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 ba. Anita, you already know the answer. So if I invite you to Cuenca, you'll meet me there. If I can make the dates work, probably. This is my problem. I have a very hard time saying no to travel. So like the trip I'm going on today, um, I didn't know about it. I am going, if y'all don't know this, I've added a week onto it, but there is a 10-day sewing retreat in a castle in Scotland. And like a year ago, Ivana was like, "Hey, did you see this? Did you hear about this?" It didn't take much for me to be like, "Well, I have to go." So yeah, I'm generally always down to go somewhere. Um, Says Monica says, I've traveled in small groups, but mostly alone. Traveling a group is fine, but I like to know I can do things solo as well. And if I'm glad you mentioned this, Monica. Um, let's say you're kind of on the fence and unsure about like, especially if you're just getting started. You might look for a group travel experience that has like some built-in um, free days or something that doesn't have like every moment of the day planned out so that you can choose an activity to go do on your own and see how you feel. Do you like that? That sort of thing. Um, so yeah, I traveling alone, traveling in a group, I'm down with that. As much as I love solo travel, there are definitely some drawbacks. I mentioned um single supplements because there have been some package deals that have come across my feed that were awesome, but uh, this was more when I was teaching. Like my friends who were not teachers did not have the amount of time off I did, and or they didn't know their schedule a year out like I would, and so it would make it hard to book those things. And then my other option would be to book it solo and pay the single supplement. That's a drawback. There's the other things of like, oh, you're chilling at this cafe, at this restaurant, and you need to go to the bathroom. But you can't just leave your stuff unattended when you're solo. You don't have somebody to watch your stuff. So there are definitely some drawbacks, but I feel like the pros, the benefits outweigh that. Um, because you get to do whatever you wanna do. Whatever the and I mean this in the best way because I am a bit of a odd bird, but whatever the weird thing is that you're into, like, you can go do that. Um, and you don't have to hear anybody's mouth about, ugh, another museum, another fabric store. Like, because I'm traveling solo, I do what I want when I want. And that also means if I don't want to do anything, I don't have to. I can lay up in the hotel all day and watch Netflix and order in food. Absolutely. Um, I agree, New Life Curator. It did sound like something that like, "Oh, these people know me." Yes, the same company that did this retreat in Scotland. I don't know if they're doing another one, but they have announced next year. that they are doing a sewing cruise, I think in April, particularly for like folks who don't want to travel by themselves, but the person they want to travel with doesn't like to sew. On the cruise, they could do other things. Uh, so yeah. Oh yeah, this Valerie. I was just looking through my pictures last night. I was trying to find a picture of me in the airport. And of course, I don't have one because the vast majority of my travel is by myself and I'm busy taking pictures. I'm not thinking about like being in the pictures. So, yeah, having somebody take a picture of me. And yes, I know you can ask a stranger, but have we not established? I don't like talking to strangers. But yes, that is a definite drawback to traveling solo. Um, another Another way you could travel the way that you want is to do things that are interest based. Like I'm going to the UK, I'm going to Scotland because I like to sew and I get a chance to sleep in a castle. And so those are things of interest to me. And so, it was a no-brainer. But maybe you're somebody who has a bucket list. You've been building that bucket list all this time. How about we start ticking some things off of there? That's probably one of my biggest pet peeves with bucket lists, which is why I don't believe in them, is because people get too caught up in the making of the list, but not in the doing of the stuff. I much prefer a done it list where you go back and you mark all the cool shit that you've done. But let's say you are somebody who has a bucket list. Let's start doing some of those things. Let's start crossing some of them off. And so you could build your trips, your travel around the things that are on your list that you said, I've always wanted to do this. Um, I don't think no, Pat has never been on the channel, but if you are a Black woman and if you're in any of the travel Facebooks, you probably remember Pat Clay j told herself she was gonna take a year and a half off of work back in 2017 to travel the world. Pat still ain't went back to work. She's done the what is it? The Camino de Santiago, the big walking thing. She's been all to South America. She's been to Africa. She's done all of this stuff. These basically she went down her bucket list and was like, I'm finna go do these things. I'm finna knock it out. So uh trying to figure out your interests if you have a bucket list. That's one way to do it. Some people like to do challenges, like 50 states by the time I'm 50, or, um, like I want to visit all seven continents, depending where you're from. That might be five continents, but what else? Um, I wanna see the new 7 wonders of the world, things like that. Um, bu 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 so yeah, so Anita says Machu Picchu is on my bucket list and I will be there next month. That is awesome. I'm going to Peru in December, and I'm absolutely not going to Machu Picchu because that does not sound like fun to me. And there are plenty of people who I have said that to who are like, "Oh my gosh, how can you go to Peru and not do that?" I have no interest. It is it is too much work to get there, and I don't like to do things that are a whole lot of work. So, I can't wait to see your pictures, Anita, but I won't be doing that. Or if you have interest based like your interest is knowing more stuff. Um, one of the companies that we worked with for Reclaim the Retreat is called Reroute Travel. Remember those of you who've been here for a while, remember when I went to El Salvador the first time and I went to Cuba and had that incredible experience. There is a video on, there are two videos on this channel about my time in Cuba, but I wanted to go and learn about those places in a particular way that like centered local people, indigenous people, Black people. And so I sought out companies that did that kind of work. Um, I am probably going to somebody else who does it. This is like, oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Last year for my birthday, I went to La Costa Chica in Mexico with Diva Green of I Got Your Black. She's been on the channel. All of her trips are focused around the Black population in the country. If you, I think there are still spaces. She has a trip to La Costa Chica that is the part of Mexico where the majority of the Afro-Mexican population lives. She has one for Day of the Dead this year, 2025, and I believe there are still spaces left on it. If you have ever wanted to do Day of the Dead and you've ever wanted to learn about Afro-Mexicans, I cannot encourage you enough to take advantage of that. Somebody else that does that is Afro Latin. I think it's Afro Latin travel. She does Afro Panama, Afro Cuba, for Colombia, and I think she has a trip to Brazil, to Bahia this year. So if your interest is in, really getting to know a place, learn about a place in a way that isn't extractive, that, centers the people from that place and not the tourists, uh, there are companies that do that. And I've been very satisfied with the experiences that I have done like that. Um, you know, we all just found out about Black Scottish folks. And so one of the things we're going to be doing in Scotland is there is a Black, I'm going to get the name wrong, but making a point to do some tours that center the Black experience in Scotland. Um, I did that when I went to Portugal, when I went to Lisbon. Uh, so, if you're Black and you want to know about the Black folks in different places, that is something that could be how you structure your travel and embrace that interest. There is no rule that says like, oh, you have to go to a resort or you have to stay here or you have to stay in an Airbnb versus a hotel. You get to travel the way that you want. What I really want to do tonight is to encourage y'all to throw out the rules. Whatever you think the rules are, throw them out. Like I see so many people online who talk about like, oh, I'm a foodie and I only go to like 5-star restaurants or Michelin star restaurants, blah, blah, blah. Needless to say, somebody who's as much of a picky eater as I am, I don't fit the traditional criteria for a foodie, but when I travel, I embrace the foods that I like. So nearly every place I go, I want to know who has the best hot chocolate, and I want to try all of the bakeries, all of the good bakeries, whoever has like some crazy thing or anything made with peanut butter. That's a rule I made a long time ago. No matter where I am in the world, whether I'm trying to, watch my sugar intake or whatever, uh, if I pass a bakery and they make something with peanut butter, cupcakes, cookies, cakes, milkshakes, whatever, I have to try it. Like that's the rule. That is my travel rule. That's my travel rule. I made it up. and I use it everywhere I go. Um, so like I I absolutely don't do any of the traditional foodie things, and I don't care. Um, Nearly every place I go fabric shopping because that is an interest of me that I have. Like this fabric right here, now that I think about it, is not why I wore it today. But this fabric I got when I was in the Netherlands. Like for me, as someone who's kind of a minimalist, I'm a little less minimal than I used to be. But as somebody who makes their own clothes, buying fabric, particularly like a traditional fabric or something that they're famous for, um, I it's a way it's like a twofer. I get new clothes and I get a very special souvenir from a place. So, in case you're wondering, we're gonna spend a couple of days in London before we go to Scotland for the retreat. And yes, first full day in London, we are going fabric shopping. I have been asking for recommendations. I have marked it out on the Google map where we're going. Um, always, always. Because again, that is of interest to me. There are other folks who would be like, oh my gosh, that sounds like the most boring thing ever. But that's how I get down. Uh Now Flutter by PNW. Uh The Pursuit of Gelato. Did I not spend you talking to me, somebody who spent an entire month in Italy just so I could eat gelato every day? Again, that might seem so stupid to somebody else, but I had the time of my life. It was so great. It was so great. Um Or, okay, you can also like use your hobby um, or something you want to know as a way to travel. I am going on this sewing retreat in Scotland, but that is not the first time that I have traveled to do things related to my hobby. Right after I got divorced, I something I had always wanted to do, but would have never booked while I was married because I couldn't justify the cost. What and it's just so funny. It's a full circle moment. The teacher, I booked a bra making class with someone I had seen online. I had booked a bra making class, and she is one of the teachers at the retreat that we're going to. But one of the first things I did after I got divorced, got my new lease on life, and I was like, I'm going to do all the things I have always wanted to do that I had talked myself out of doing. I went to Philly. I lived in Texas at the time. The class was in Philadelphia. Newly divorced, didn't have a whole lot of expendable cash. One of my friends from grad school happened to live there, and I was like, "Hey, can I come sleep on your couch so I can take this class to learn how to make bras?" Did that. This year for my birthday and in 2023 for my birthday, I went to the sorority, SEW sorority retreat with women from all over women and men, because this year when I went, it was actually co-ed, women and men from all over the US who like to sew. And y'all, a time was had. Um, what else have I done? Oh yeah. When I moved to Honduras, the there's a very well-known pattern for making jeans, and the lady who designed that pattern was teaching a class, and so I booked a trip to go to learn how to make jeans from the designer of that pattern. So, using my hobby as a pathway to travel, um, I that's how I do. And I love that for me. Again, probably not super attractive uh, to a lot of other folks, but I have been having a blast. Um, I will make note, Denman Street, gelato whenever I'm back in Vancouver. Um, TJ says, when I travel, I must visit plant shops, local botanical gardens. Okay. Um, okay, I thought I saw another comment in here. This, Alicia, it's more important to just book the trip and go without all the criteria and the stipulations. Just go, forget about the gram. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, okay, so we talked about like use your interest, use your hobby, use that bucket list you've been working on all these years to, create these travel experiences that you're really going to enjoy. You can also use travel to build community. And that's, well, one, that is something we all need even more so now than previously. Um, you know, if you have ever thought about going to a meetup, the Exodus Summit meetup. There was one in Cancun. There was one in Morocco. They did one in Vietnam. Was that this year? Yeah, I don't know. What is time? Vietnam, South Africa, where you just go. You don't have to know anybody, but Exodus Summit is about helping Black women move abroad and travel. If that's an interest of yours, you can go to the event to hang out and connect with other Black women who want to do those things. Um, our Black Utopia hosts a meetup in Lisbon every year. Krishan with Black Sick Global has hosted meetups as well. Um, I have been to our Black Utopia meetup. I've been to a couple of Exodus Summit meetups. Last June, I went to, this is kind of a twofer, combining my hobby as well as building community. There are these events in the sewing community called frock tales, like a frock, like a dress, tail like cocktails is basically a cocktail party where you wear something you've made. And they have them all over the world. Last June, I went to Frock Tales in Chicago and met in person, continued to build community with sewists that I have, been following online. They've been following me, all of that kind of stuff. So you can travel in that way. And I would also mention Reclaim the Retreat. Um, one of our cornerstones of Reclaim the Retreat is community and connecting with other women who want to make big changes in their lives and live more authentically. So you can travel in the manner in which you want, with the people you want, and go do the stuff you want. The rules do not matter. Yeah, I forgot about the Exodus Summit meetup in Bogota for Stephanie's birthday. And they have not said where the 2026 one. I have heard Brazil. I have also heard Kenya. Again, if you are watching this and you're like, I want to connect with other Black women, here's your opportunity. And you can either kind of plan out what you want to do there, or you can connect whenever they announce where they're going. You can connect with other women and y'all can work together to figure out things to do. That's part of the beauty of it. Um, oh, where did I just see it? Okay. Does CDMX have a meetup? Sometimes. I will tell you because I am I'm one of the admins for the Facebook group. Um, we do not have regular meetups like some of the other groups do, but everybody is free to create their own. There is a meetup, actually, there is a meetup next month. If you are in the Brothers and Sisters of Mexico City group, you can see the details about that. Some communities have regularly scheduled meetups. We are not a community like that, but if anybody ever wants to host one, they are welcome to do so. Um, I will not be in Lisbon in October. I will be, where will I be? I think I'm gonna be here. I think I'm gonna be here. Uh, I At the moment, I have a trip in November. I have a trip in December. So I thought maybe October I should sit my ass down for a minute, but we'll see. We'll see. But I don't expect to be in Portugal. Um, I do see a question. We are working out the schedule for Reclaim the Retreat. In the link, in the description of this video, make sure you get on the mailing list. If you go to the website, reclaimtheretreat.com, there's a place to sign up for the mailing list. Mailing list always finds out first. So if you're not on the mailing list, get on the mailing list, and then you will be in the know once we work everything out there. Um, okay. I I hope this conversation has encouraged you to travel and to not worry about, am I doing it the right way? Am I going to the best place? Am I doing the best activities? I hope that this conversation has encouraged you to go and do the things that you've always dreamed about, that you already do and enjoy, and why not do them somewhere else? Um, I have to go. I did finish packing, but I do need to eat and shower and do all of that before I head to the airport. So I will see y'all hopefully next Tuesday. I will be dealing with a time change. Also, you never know what the internet is going to be like when you travel, but assuming I can stay awake and that the internet is not trash, I will see y'all again next Tuesday at 7 p.m. All right, y'all. Bye.